I wanted to talk just a little general music shop with you before we
Yeah.
dismount for the day. Um, you're the type of guy, and again, for anyone tuning in late, I've been friends with Anthony most of my life. We've known each other since we were 5 years old. And I've been wanting to have him on for Sounds Revolution. We finally nailed it down because he's a fantastic musician, writes some fantastic music, does amazing things. One of the best musicians I know. But you do a thing as a listener where whenever you get into someone, you just absorb their entire catalog and just go exclusive. So what's usually your time frame on that?
I mean, I think honestly, it's I have a little bit of OCD just in my daily life and everything I do. But we'll use Prince as an example because he's the easy, obvious one.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was like 14, 15, somewhere around there. And the first CD that I got was like a greatest hits collection. So, it's a pretty decent place to start as a non-fan. But I'd say there was a year period, at least, where if I didn't listen to only Prince, my other listening maybe was like 4% of other artists for an entire year, like daily. Now he's a unique example because he has such a massive catalog,
So if someone wants to get a little more into Prince and they just sort of know the obvious,
right? Like Purple Rain, yeah. So
wait, what's it called? No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. Purple Cloud.
Can you spell that? Is that like
Kanye 2020?
Is that a film or something? No. So if they only know the obvious, Purple Rain, and I mean, dude, I mean, When You Were Mine is like,
oh yeah, dude,
a perfect
Dirty Mind. Dirty Mind is, I feel like because I'm such a sort of student fan of his that as much as I revere an album like Purple Rain, I just don't really listen to it because it's just everywhere, and I kind of don't need to hear it ever again to get anything out of it. But Dirty Mind, Sign of the Times, Love Sexy is an album that never gets any love, ironically. 1988. It's just really, yeah. But those three records, I think, are just way like on a different level of brilliance than. I mean, Purple Rain was a commercial masterpiece, obviously.
Sure, yeah.
But Dirty Mind, there's something like so punk rock about that record. He did it on a 16-track recorder in his basement, played everything. They were essentially demos that he just never redid, turned it into the label.
So was it a little more lo-fi than his?
Oh yeah,
everything's
like a lot of his dry.
Stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
See, that's fun. How was he able to be so eclectic?
I don't know. I went to Minneapolis with Victor right after he died, and we sort of, I think you can actually take like a Map of the Stars kind of tour these days. It's been so many years, but we kind of made up our own. Like we just Googled where he went to high school and drove around his old neighborhood like a couple of creepers.
Well, was this when he was still alive, or was this after he had passed?
It's just 2 months after he passed.
Okay.
So, right. But it was, so
it was not that bad. I mean, if he was still alive, it was like we went to his house and just like someone answered the door and they were like, guys, this is sort of like, you can't really do this. And we were like, well, can we just stand here and breathe for a few minutes? And they were like, that's creepy. Like, you didn't do that.
No,
not that bad.
Almost though. But anyway, what I forgot I was saying.
So you guys made your own tour of like Prince's.
Yeah. Yeah. And just sort of getting a feel from, where he grew up. And he definitely had this sort of collision of, he like we talked about James Brown for a second earlier. He loved James Brown and Sly and the Family Stone, but then he loved Stevie Nicks. Like Fleetwood Mac was a massive influence. Joni Mitchell was a massive influence. So I mean, there's like these little, like almost like folk elements that sort of poke in and out that are almost unnoticeable if you don't know that,
and that just sounds so out of the box in any other context. If somebody went up and hey man, I mean, I love all kinds of music, but if someone went up to me and they were just like, dude, we're kind of like We kind of got like a funk folk thing going. I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that could
Where's the
work.
spectrum? Yeah, it's like,
I don't
where's
really,
the division?
I don't really.
70% funk and 3%.
Anthony, you got to hear my new project. We're Norwegian death metal Americana. You got to hear it. You're gonna love it. It's great. It's it's just one of those things where it's just like, well, I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, folk punk, obvious marriage. Ska punk, obvious rock funk, obvious marriage.
Sure.
Like classic rock inspired Heartland. I mean, obvious marriages, but a little bit of folk, a little bit of funk, a little bit of big band, a little bit of just straight up jamming, a little bit of punk, a little bit of pop. I mean,
even
Prince
jazz
is
stuff
like
later on.
all those things, man. And I mean, obviously I'll forever be late to the party. But did you ever get to see him live?
One time, 2004.
Where'd you see him?
I saw him at the old arena
in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I guess it was still the old arena, but it was called Mellon Arena by that point.
Yeah, they changed the name every other day.
Yeah, but it was the Civic Arena.
They are changing the name right now as we're talking. They are changing the
name. Because somebody's got to spend another $2 million to get their name up there.
Some oil company needs to convince Western Pennsylvania that fracking's safe. So they're renaming everything as we speak. They're just man. So you saw him in 2004, and how was it?
I was, I'm obviously biased, but it's hard to surpass that for me for any other show. That's number one.
If you had to give so that is because my next question was going to be, if you had to give the gold star to something, could you do it?
Yeah, it'd be that.
It'd be that.
And then Springsteen definitely is always a close second.
Springsteen? Is there a particular Springsteen show?
The Rising tour at the stadium.
That was amazing.
Yeah, that was. I've seen him. I'm trying to think. I haven't.
Did you see him when he did PNC Park?
I don't think I did. Was that
really? Because
I didn't see him in the Tom Morello era.
No, I didn't either. This was before that. This would have been. Now, I would say, out of all the times I saw him, they were all amazing. But if I had to say, well, this was just not quite as amazing as the other ones, I would say that the one time I saw him at I think it was Mellon Arena, but I mean, there's been multiple times he's been there, so who knows? But the one time I saw him there, it was still great, but it was like he did sort of these kind of twangy cowboy-esque interludes, and it was when he was doing a lot of the the sitting down to and it was still great, but it wasn't quite I just wanted a raucous, fun-loving E Street band to do their thing. And at PNC Park, they were just firing on all cylinders. And then one time I saw him in Seattle, and it was sort of Seattle is one of those cities he doesn't come to as often. So he pulled out every trick in the book.
Oh, he's playing.
He pulled out. He was just
38 songs.
Oh yeah, and it was one of those things where people, for anyone not familiar with a Bruce Springsteen show, which I recommend changing that as soon as you can. But you can do a thing where you hold up song, you have a little poster board and you have a song there, and if Bruce wants, he'll call it over, and they'll bring the poster over to him, and he'll hold it up. And then the crowd just goes nuts, and then he plays the song. And so he was just calling for poster, and he would just 10th Avenue, Rosalita, Born to Run, just hit after hit after hit after hit after hit, and then close with American Band. And it was oh man, oh man, it was just. And then, dude, seeing him solo was a religious experience.
Was that the Devils and Dust tour?
Devils and Dust tour. The venue in Pittsburgh would have been Peterson Event Center, and this, of course, is when both you and I were still living in Pittsburgh. When we were in our youth, which was however long ago. It's not important, but
I don't know.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Time has no meaning anymore.
It really doesn't, especially now. But it was so incredible, and how did you not just freak out when you met him?
Oh, Bruce?
Because you got to meet him.
I've never actually. I've been in the same area as him, but I've never actually met him face.
You have a picture with him.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm thinking of.
How'd you
in concert.
forget about that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's.
I was thinking,
bro.
I was like, was it
Quarantine
a wax figure
brain.
and you were fucking with everybody?
No, you're talking about the when he went on.
Ron,
his
I
book
can't
tour.
believe this happened.
Yeah, yeah. That was in Atlanta, or like a suburb outside of Atlanta when he was on his book tour. And it was very quick. I mean, I didn't really get to have a conversation, but he was warm and kind, and shook my hand and said, I just said thanks for the decades of amazing work you've given me to listen to, and kind of patted me on the back and got the picture. That was it.
You didn't give him a CD?
Nah, and I didn't have any hiding. Hey, we. Yeah,
because I think I told the story on this show about when you gave Ben Roethlisberger your CD.
Oh, you actually told
for anyone who remembered. I think I did. Well, because I was one of the people.
Blocked. Yeah.
I was blocked, so we did a story on it for fun, and I talked about it. Because I tweeted. I tweeted about the NFL all of a sudden therefore Black Lives Matter all of a sudden the NFL is, and I tweeted out how it's interesting. Here's a tale of two quarterbacks. Colin Kaepernick, who supports a bunch of causes, knelt in peaceful protest of police brutality. Here's Ben Roethlisberger, gives more money to Blue Lives Matter than probably any other celebrity, has 2 rape allegations. One of them is banned from the league. Well, not a fit, but come on.
Yeah.
He's banned from the league. And one of them isn't. Any guess which one? I tweeted something along those lines, and I couldn't tag back Ben Roethlisberger because I found out he had blocked me.
Oh, man.
So I think I told that story about you gave Ben Roethlisberger your CD.
Yeah, and he threw it on the ground.
He threw it on. Now,
oh, man.
is it possible he just didn't know what it was?
No, I think he
was
like.
Is it possible he was just like ooga booga and threw it on the ground? and then one of his handlers was like, "No, Ben, this is you put this in a thing and it plays sounds." And he was like, "Sound?" And they were like, "No, Ben, you me want woman." Like, all right, calm down, Ben. Calm down. Me throw ball? Not yet, Ben. Not yet. If you put this in a thing, it plays sounds, and then you can hear it. It's like a song. And he go, "Renegade?" Yes, Ben, like a song. It plays a song. And then you could listen. So it might have been he just didn't know. Like it might have been like he's a caveman. He is a modern day caveman. And
it's entirely possible. It's entirely possible.
Like in his mind, you were just handing him fire. Like he didn't know what it was, and he freaked out. That guy's such a horrible human being.
Oh God!
But no, he knew it. You gave him your CD. You were very polite. What'd you say to him?
Yeah, I don't remember. I think I said, "Hey, man, it's great to meet you. I wanted to give you this. It's my music." It was one of those WDV events, like the Christmas annual thing, where there was a house band, and I forget what
I got to attend that
venue called.
Thanks to
what
you.
Was that venue? Diesel, I think was.
Well,
the name
first
of the venue.
It was what was originally called Nick's Fat City.
Yeah,
and
when
then
it was cool.
When it was cool, I agree. I've seen some great shows at Nick's Fat City. Including your dad's band, the Iron City House Rockers.
Yes.
Yeah. Anthony's dad was one of the original members of a band called the Iron City House Rockers, who, they were one of the last major label bands out of Pittsburgh, really.
Yeah. I mean, they might have been,
there's been some hip hop like Wiz Khalifa, stuff like that.
Yeah. And then Rusted Root in the early 90s. But as far as that, that era when the sort of Cleveland, Pittsburgh thing was happening. I don't know if you know, they just released a reissue of Have a Good Time but Get Out Alive on vinyl. Remastered, bunch of new songs and demos.
My dad sent me the article about it because he's like, "Hey, here's an article. Here's Anthony's dad," and they got like that press photo from back in the day. And no, because I shortly before that came out, when I still had Sirius, they actually played that on XM.
Oh yeah,
they played some
on Underground Garage.
Yeah, man, they spun it on, and I was like, I know that song. And then I was like, oh snap, it's yeah, and it was like the original recording. It was badass. But yeah, man. So it was Nick's Fat City. Then it became Diesel, and the big kind of radio station that's still going strong to this day is WDVE. They have a morning show that, comparatively speaking, it is still a very successful morning show. And not a lot of cities have that. That's sort of a dying thing. But the one in Pittsburgh is still going pretty strong. It's run by a guy, Randy Bauman, who's a good guy. He's had me on before. He, when I did my parody of I Wonder What's Inside Your Butthole, he included it.
Oh, man, I remember that.
Mine was in his compilation because he put a thing on Facebook and he's like, if you've done anything, send it to me. And I sent him mine. I actually love what he said about mine. He's like, this is like, he's like, yours sounds like if the Replacements actually wrote the song.
Oh man,
that was what Randy said about mine. I got a kick out of it, but yeah. So shout out to Randy, and you know, they're still going strong with their show, and
he's a great musician too. You ever heard him play keys and B3 and stuff like that?
I've seen him play because he would sit in with you guys in the house band some, and then I heard him. I think he was talking about trying to put together a Jethro Tull tribute.
Oh,
which
man.
You don't do a Jethro Tull tribute if you don't have chops.
Yeah.
So, and he can play guitar pretty well too. Randy can. So yeah, you don't that's not one of the like I could be like, hey Anthony, let's just get our acoustics and just like jam out on some Springsteen tunes. And you know, you're a good guitar player, so we could have a good time and strum out some Springsteen tunes. Yeah. But like that's not a spur of the moment. Like, dude, we got to do a Jethro Tull tribute. Let's do
a medley.
I mean, even somebody at your level, you gotta sit down for a second.
There's got to be some homework involved. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to do a little bit of homework involved there. And for someone like me, that's just like I can play tambourine. I mean, it's like their music. I mean, yeah, I could get through some of the more bluesy numbers, like Cross-Eyed Mary. I could figure out that lick and I could do it. You know, and I could get through a solo. It wouldn't be great. Your solo would be a lot better, but my solo would be like, you know, like, oh, look at Ron. He did that himself. You know, that would be my solo. he did that himself.
Yeah, let's put it on the fridge.
We clap for the other guy. Let's clap for him too. He's trying. But it's like, I mean, some of those more complicated pieces. But Randy was talking about doing like a Jethro Tull tribute. So, you know, he's got chops. But anyway, they do. I think they still do it. They do an annual holiday show. And you were in the house band for that when you lived in Pittsburgh. And the one year I actually went with you. This was like, you brought me to the sound check. And that would have been, God.
Yeah, I want to say 08, maybe 09.
I was thinking 1982, but I think you're right. Yeah. It was 08 or 09. It was either 08 or 09 or 82. It was one of those two things. But we were there. I think it was 1951. But we were there.
No, now is 1951.
It's 1951 now. We've literally gone back in time with how weird this whole thing is. But you brought me to the sound check, and it was just a good old time, man. I was in town for the holidays, having a good old time. Got to watch the show, and I got to stand like it would be really cramped. But if you were with the performers, you can kind of hang out in the backstage area. So I got to hang out in the backstage area. And then there was this drunk woman who kept going, "It's my birthday. Will you wish me a happy birthday?"
God, I remember that.
And everybody was like, we can't wish you a happy. There's a bunch of people. It's their birthday. We can't just wish you a happy birthday. We're sorry. You know, the people who were going on stage were saying this. And then she finally asked me, just assuming I had something to do with anything. And she goes, "It's my birthday. Will you?" And I was just like, "Happy birthday. I got you. I got you. Happy." But she's like, "No, but I mean on stage." And I'm like, I'm not going on stage. I'm not. Man. And she's like, "Well, how are you here?" And I was like, I'm friends with the band. And she goes, "No way." Like I was making that up. I was like, "Yeah, why would I make that? That's like my buddy from grade school is up there. He's playing guitar. He's rocking out. He's crushing it."
It's funny.
And it's like, that wasn't the night you gave Ben Roethlisberger the CD, was it? This was a different time.
I did that show so many years. I don't remember.
Because I remember
I gave him the CD probably. It was, when did I move to Nashville? It was probably around 12 years ago. Because the one I gave him the CD.
The reason I want to say it was a different thing is because my memory. So at the time, I grew up in Pittsburgh. I left Pittsburgh. I went to school out of state, and we always stayed in touch. We hung out in the summer, and I moved to Seattle, lived in Seattle for a couple of years, then moved back to Pittsburgh to go to grad school. You were still in Pittsburgh during this duration, but during this particular time, I was still living in Seattle. Well, you were, you know, so I was like back.
You were just home for the holidays.
Yeah, so I was just home for the holidays. So I was just excited to be home for the holiday, and And, this was back, before all of the all the ridiculous stuff about Ben Roethlisberger, basically. and so like a bunch of Steelers were just hanging out upstairs. And at this point, it was just people involved with the event. And the only reason I was still able to be in the building was because I was with you. And I was like, should we go say hi to the Steelers? That's pretty neat. And none of you wanted to go over there because Ben Roethlisberger was there. And you were all like, he's a jerk. And I was like, really? And you were like, yeah. And I was like, you guys don't want to say hi to the Steelers? And they were like, if you want to go say hi, go say hi. And no one else wanted to. And I was just so worried it would be like a bad moment because he did seem a little like he didn't want people approaching him.
Talk to people,
So I'm like, if this many people are saying he's that big of an asshole, I don't think I want to go. And now I'm glad.
And I was just saying, and now you're blocked.
Yeah. Now I'm blocked. And it's like, I'm glad I didn't meet the guy. So there, I have that memory now where it's like, I made the right call there.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and